Hello and welcome to Lore of the Cards, the series that helps you uncover the lore hidden within your Hearthstone deck. The votes are in, and it was a tightly fought contest between Grommash and the Sunwalker, swapping their positions on several occasions, with Grom just about eking out in front. Not that this contest mattered, as the Cabal Shadow Priest blew away the competition, walking away with almost half the vote. So, let's find out a little more about Shadow Priests and the Cabal cult. The art of the card is by Brian Chippy Duggan, or Dugan. The image was initially used in the WoW TCG on a priest ability card called Focused Will. As for Chippy himself, I don't really have much to offer, bar a blog that hasn't been updated in 5 years. When he actually updated his blog, Chippy was an in-house artist at Eidos Montreal, which probably means he had a hand in creating artwork for Deus Ex Human Revolution, released in 2011. When he wasn't working at Eidos, he was freelancing, creating magic cards and some D&D artwork, and of course, cards for the World of Warcraft trading card game. While Chippy hasn't produced art for any major lore characters, he has made a lot of art for the TCG, a good number of his pieces making it into Hearthstone. Where and what he's doing now, I wouldn't be able to tell you. What I can say with certainty is he has produced the art for Jaraxxus' weapon, Hellfire, and of course, the manipulative Cabal Shadow Priest. In World of Warcraft, there are 3 types of priest: Holy, Discipline, and Shadow. While Holy and Discipline priests are able to wield their powers in order to smite their foes, they are more likely to use their connections to the Holy Light to heal their allies. Those that follow the Holy Light do not necessarily worship any gods, though some gods like Elune have a deep connection to it and allow their followers to benefit from the Light's gifts without them expressly following it. The religion is more of a philosophy, with the Light's followers trying to seek perfection within themselves. Those that follow the Light gain an acute spiritual awareness, and this awareness helps them guide others, either as leaders or spiritual mentors. Followers of the religion seek to create a better universe, as a utopian universe will have content life forms within it. Followers of the Holy Light are able to wield a force known as the Light. This force can be summoned through willpower or faith, and can be used to fight foes that would attack the caster, or heal the wounds and sicknesses of allies. Those that put their faith in the Light are even able to raise allies and loved ones from the dead. A Shadow Priest, while able to wield the Holy Light, concentrates more of their energy on using the darker, more sinister forces of the universe to inflict excruciating pain against those who would oppose them. The Shadow is very much the antithesis of the Light. While the Light inspires hope and positive emotions, the Shadow causes sorrow and despair. This force began to be used by priests on a larger scale when the Cult of Forgotten Shadow was founded. After bringing much of Azeroth to its knee and raising those that stood against him as his undead minions, the Lich King became a terrifying force within the world. However, as the King's reign continued, many sought to put an end to the ruler of the damned, and as a result, the Lich King's hold over his undead scourge began to wane. Many undead now had their free will returned to them, no longer being forced into obeying the Lich King's commands. Despite having their humanity returned, these undead were still cast aside by those they had once called friends, being seen as unnatural abominations. Extreme followers of the Light, such as the Scarlet Crusade, sought to scour all undead from the face of Azeroth, whether they had free will or not. The undead had been shunned by the society that in life they were once a part of. The priests of the now dubbed Forsaken felt abandoned by the Holy Light. In fact, if the Forsaken have their wounds healed by the Holy Light, it causes them excruciating pain, much like cauterizing a wound. This is most likely due to the fact that their existence is averse to the natural order. In response, Forsaken priests founded the Cult of Forgotten Shadow after rediscovering the teachings of Natalie Selene. After the first war between orcs and humans, which saw the Kingdom of Stormwind soundly defeated by the Orcish Horde, Selene, a bishop from the Kingdom of Lordaeron, began studying the magical arts of the Orcish Necrolites. These dark spellweavers were able to raise the corpses of the humans and send them to attack their own as skeletons. As Selene studied to find a way of countering these dark casters, she became more and more obsessed with discovering why dark energies like these existed in the world at all. As she discovered the ebb and flow between dark and light, she began to preach a different message. She preached of the necessity of keeping the balance between dark and light. After her death, her books were locked away until being rediscovered by the Forsaken. Like Selene, the Forsaken priests believed that the dark energies of the shadow are just as important as the light for the survival of reality. In a way, it justified their existence. The Forsaken, born through dark magics, but they too are just as essential as any other race for keeping the balance within the universe. Thus, Shadow Priests were born. From this small cult of Forsaken, the, to some heretical, cult of Forgotten Shadow has spread throughout Azeroth, crossing racial and faction borders, both Alliance and Horde priests using the Shadow to inspire fear in their adversaries. All Shadow Priests practice what they preach, practicing the Holy Light as well as the Shadow to maintain balance within themselves. For if they were to only practice the Shadow, they would be consumed by it and become a vessel of darkness. So now that we have an understanding of what a Shadow Priest is and why they even exist, let's take a look at another cult, the Cabal. The art on the card clearly depicts a human, but it would seem that the Cabal is an old Horde organisation, ogres and orcs making up most of the numbers. Before the first war fought between orcs and humans, the orcs actually resided on their own planet called Draenor. The race was predominantly hunter-gatherers, with a deep connection to the elements and a tribal culture, finding joy within a challenging hunt and practicing the art of shamanism. The orcs shared their world with the Draenei, mysterious and highly advanced beings. In fact, the Draenei themselves had come from their own world, Argus. These refugees fled when many of their race, the Eredar, were seduced and corrupted by the promise of power from the Burning Legion, a force led by the twisted Sargeras that sought to bring destruction to all worlds. Draenei means exiled ones in their native tongue. Angered that the Draenei did not take the power offered to them by Sargeras, one of the Eredar leaders, Kil'Jaeden, sought to destroy the Draenei. He followed them throughout the universe, trying to crush the Draenei with the might of the Legion's armies, but each time Kil'Jaeden found the Draenei and chased them, they would be gone when he arrived. When Kil'Jaeden discovered that the Draenei were on Draenor, he decided to destroy the Draenei in a more subtle way. Instead of charging at them with his army, Kil'Jaeden planned to manipulate the orcs to wipe out the Draenei for him. Kil'Jaeden targeted ner'zhul, elder shaman of the Shadowmoon clan and highly respected throughout all the orcish clans. Kil'Jaeden preyed upon three things: ner'zhul's desire for power, his connection to the spirits of his ancestors, and the grief of losing his mate, R'hllkarn. Kil'Jaeden appeared as R'hllkarn and tricked ner'zhul into thinking the Draenei were enemies to the orcs. Ner'zhul united the orcs in a war against the Draenei. Thrilled he was finally realising the power he secretly coveted, Ner'zhul became confused as to why the spirits of the elements and the orcish ancestors would no longer speak to him. Ner'zhul travelled to the sacred ground of Oshu'gun to see if he could commune with the orcish ancestors there, and he was shocked to find the ancestors thought him a monster. The real R'hllkarn revealed herself to Ner'zhul and informed him he had been deceived. He had not been spilling innocent Draenei blood in the ancestors' name, but fulfilling Kil'Jaeden's revenge. Ner'zhul promised he would make up for his horrific mistake and defy his demon master, but he had been followed by his power-hungry apprentice, Gul'dan. Gul'dan informed Kil'Jaeden of Ner'zhul's intended betrayal and was rewarded by the powerful demon, being given Ner'zhul's position of authority and the shaman being stripped of all his powers. Kil'Jaeden kept Ner'zhul around so that he could helplessly witness his race sink more into demonic corruption and stray even further from their ancestors as they pursued their unjust war upon the Draenei. Gul'dan, however, was no leader and lacked the charisma of his former master. Understanding his limits, Gul'dan would go on to form the Shadow Council, a group of power-mad orcish warlocks that would manipulate the orcs to do their demonic master's will from the shadows. The Cabal was a later formed subsection of the Shadow Council. Gul'dan saw that all of the clans were united as one entity that would come to call themselves the Horde, under the leadership of the Black Rock clan chieftain, Blackhand. While Blackhand was an inspirational and cunning figurehead, he was most certainly not the true leader of the Horde. That responsibility fell to Gul'dan and his devious council, who were deeply loyal to Kil'Jaeden. Blackhand had a seat on the council, but was not privy to the more demonic activities. Under the Shadow Council's guidance, the Horde joined with their old enemies, the Ogres, giving the Horde more brute strength in their armies. A few ogres, like Cho'Gall, even joined the Shadow Council's inner circle. The Shadow Council even tricked most of the orcish race into drinking the blood of Manoroth, plunging the orcs into a bloodlust that would see them defeat the Draenei, but damn the race to demonic corruption. Content the Draenei had been defeated, which they weren't by the way, Kil'Jaeden left the orcs to their own devices. With no clear enemy to fight, the orcs would take out their aggression on each other. In order to stop the Horde from destroying itself, Gul'dan and his Shadow Council needed to find a solution. They did, the orcs invading the world of Azeroth with some assistance from the human mage Medivh. While many orcs made the journey through the Dark Portal to conquer this new world, some stayed behind on Draenor. This included some members of the Shadow Council, which would later become the Cabal, led by Grandmaster Vorpil and his second, the Ogre Warlock, Blackheart the Inciter. While the Horde fought the humans on Azeroth, Gul'dan dispatched Vorpil and the Cabal to investigate the Orchandun. This giant mausoleum was a holy site to the Draenei, and the Cabal would remain there for many years. Blackheart relished his time in the crypts, using the spirits of the dead to practice his mind control techniques. As the Cabal rooted through the graves of the Draenei searching for powerful artifacts, the orcs on Azeroth were not faring too well. Despite winning their first war against the humans, the orcs lost the second, largely due to Gul'dan betraying the Horde, withdrawing his forces from the final push in the pursuit of power, which led to his death. The orcs were chased back through the Dark Portal from whence they came, which the Alliance promptly destroyed. Again, the orcs were in a predicament. The demonic fury still burning within them, they once again started fighting each other. The Death Knight Teron Gorefiend came to Ner'zhul with a plan. He asked Ner'zhul to lead the Horde and open portals to other worlds to conquer, much like they had attempted to do with Azeroth. Ner'zhul agreed to this plan, but in order to carry it out they needed several powerful artifacts from Azeroth to open these portals, one of which being the skull of Ner'zhul's former pupil, Gul'dan. With the link between the worlds still open despite the portal's destruction, the orcs once again invaded Azeroth in a hit-and-run attack to grab these artifacts. This time, the Alliance wanted to make sure their victory was absolute, chasing the orcs back to Draenor in an attempt to wipe out the entire race for their audacity. In order to open the portals, Ner'zhul needed to wait for a celestial event upon Draenor. He and his allies needed to evade capture from some of the Alliance's greatest heroes until then. The Cabal were very much unaware of the events that had transpired around them, continuing their investigations of the Orchandun. That was until Ner'zhul, Teron Gorefiend and the Bleeding Hollow clan's chieftain, Kil'Rog Deadeye, showed up on their doorstep. The trio and their forces were being pursued by Danath Trollbane, second in command of the expedition to Draenor. Ner'zhul informed Vorpil of Gul'dan and his Shadow Council's treachery on the eve of their victory against the Alliance. In response, Vorpil pledged the Cabal's services to Ner'zhul, giving the Orc army a much needed bolster to their numbers. Against the odds, Danath and his forces managed to launch a surprise attack against the Cabal. Reeling from the surprise, Teron Gorefiend managed to teleport himself and ner'zhul away, while the Cabal took refuge deep within the Orchandun. Kil'Jaeden Deadeye made his final stand to help ner'zhul escape, but met his end in one-on-one combat against Danath. Since the Alliance needed to stop ner'zhul, they left the Cabal to their own devices. The Alliance were unsuccessful, and ner'zhul opened several portals. The chaotic magics from the portals tore the world of Draenor apart, turning it into the world that is now called Outland. Despite Vorpal's pledge to ner'zhul, the Cabal once again returned to the practices of the Shadow Council, worshipping demons and embracing the dark energies that their demon masters taught them to wield. Probably a smart move on their part, as the Burning Legion sought to claim Outland for themselves, seeing it as a valuable strategic point from which to launch invasions. In order to stop the Legion from fully claiming Outland, Azeroth responded, Horde and Alliance travelling through the Dark Portal to stop them in the Burning Crusade expansion. Just before this time, Vorpal and the Cabal summoned a creature of huge power to the world of Outland, the mysterious Murmur, whose entry into the world devastated the Orchandun and created the grey wasteland known as the Bone Wastes around the structure. So little is known about Murmur, only that he was an elemental created when the universe itself was created, and is the essence of sound. The Cabal sought to tame Murmur, but the being was far too powerful to control, causing many of the Cabal to flee the Orchandun. In-game, players would come across a caravan stranded in the Bone Wastes that had been attacked by the Cabal and unable to move from their position. Guards from the nearby city of Shattrath had come to defend the caravan, but even with their protection, the caravan did not move, fearing another attack from the Cabal, and asked the adventurers to assist them. The Cabal activity in the area was due to their incapability to control Murmur, and they were moving their artifacts from the Orchandun Shadow Labyrinth to the crypts surrounding it. After dealing with the immediate threats to the caravan, rescuing prisoners and reclaiming Draenei artifacts, the heroes would later venture into the Shadow Labyrinth to prevent Murmur from fully forming in Outland. In the Shadow Labyrinth dungeon, players would face off against the Cabal and their demonic allies. They slew the Cabal's leaders, Blackheart and Vorpal. As they entered the Shadow Labyrinth's final chamber, the giant Murmur stood before them, the Cabal desperately trying to suppress it. The heroes killed the remaining Cabal and defeated Murmur before he could fully form. So, there you have it, a little context about Shadow Priests and the lore of the Cabal, which has no human members. So, why is the Cabal Shadow Priest human? As I stated earlier, the Cabal is a subsection of the Shadow Council. After Gul'dan's death, the Shadow Council reformed. It is unknown when and how. Vorpal and the Cabal may have had something to do with it, but I'm only speculating there. This new Shadow Council is more inclusive than the first, spanning across races from both factions, humans being one of these races. So humans are a part of the main organisation to which the Cabal belong, and perhaps this is why Blizzard chose a human to represent the card. The art of the card also nicely matches the card's ability. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Really hope you've enjoyed this episode of Lore of the Cards. If you have, give it a like, subscribe and share it around. If you noticed anything you liked or didn't, let me know in the comments section. Of course, if you want to crush my very soul, you can hit the dislike button. If you like the art in the video, you can find the artists in the description below. So, for the next episode, I'll be covering the upcoming expansion, Goblins vs Gnomes, to give you guys an insight into this rivalry. But we may as well vote on the episode following that one. So, would you guys like to see Gruul, Cairn Bloodhoof, or Archmage Antinidas? Let me know in the comments section below and in the poll, and I'll see you next time for more Lore of the Cards. Bye guys.